Fate Grand Order Divine Realm of the Round Table, Camelot Paladin, Agateram, continues on from the previous movie and is basically about the characters trying to get their shit together after the destruction of the village base due to Ryouiki in the last movie. In this movie, they also managed to encounter Lancelot, and they managed to convert him over to their side, and we find out a little bit of a secret about MASH, which is probably a lot more impactful if you've watched all of the other Fate Grand Order movies and TV shows. So, I guess if I ever do decide to watch it, I've already been spoiled for that. Whoopsie. Anyway, we also find out why exactly Arthur has seemingly lost her fucking mind, and I'm not going to spoil that, even though I probably normally would. I don't really think it matters that much in the grand scheme of things outside of recontextualizing some stuff, but this is also a relatively new movie, and, you know, I just might as well just leave it there for you to discover should you choose to watch this. Now, I will say that these movies have not had the best animation throughout most of their runtimes, and I can only assume that literally all of the effort was put into the last 30 minutes of this, because it goes from its pseudo-jank animation to this fucking gorgeously moving fluid animation right at the end for just the last half hour. Now, the characters themselves go off-model a whole lot during these action scenes towards the end of this, generally like changing shapes and sizes and stretching like rubber hose cartoon characters, but the animation is fluid enough and the emotions and excitement from the fights themselves kind of make up for the off-model character designs at those points. So it actually kind of looks really good for the last half hour. A lot of effort was definitely put into that. Another thing I will say is, even though I don't know who any of these characters are, it does an absolutely fantastic job about making me like and appreciate and care for them. Even the new members of the Knights of the Round Table, who we've only seen little bits of, their fights against our heroes managed to win them over for me in this actual movie. Like, Tristan wasn't much of a character in the previous movie, but then he comes in and fights Bedivere, and he becomes a lot more of a likable, appreciable character. Is similar as Lancelot is pretty cool in this, and I think my only prior experience with Lancelot was, I think, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think he was like Berserker in Fate Zero. God, don't quote me on that. I haven't seen Fate Zero in forever. And they even have a nice moment at the end of the movie post-credits with, like, Sir Agravain. Like, even the characters that are... Oh, and Sir Gawain is, like, a big fucking deal in this. He's almost a sort of secondary antagonist in this film. And what I appreciate is that their knights are mostly doing this just out of pure loyalty to Artoria. So, like, their motivations aren't even necessarily evil, and it's worth noting that Artoria's whole goal here is to sort of create a sort of crystalline stasis pods to save humans from, because the world is apparently about to be destroyed. So you really can't hate anyone's motivations here. Everyone's sort of noble in their own ways, even if you could make the argument that maybe the antagonists of this film, which I wouldn't go so far as to even call villains, are maybe less in the right. I don't know. The world still gets destroyed at the end. Maybe their idea to put everyone in stasis pods isn't that terrible. I don't fucking know. It's a bit of a debate. And speaking of which, there is a lot of sort of like philosophical and motivation-based discussions in this movie, and it marks the only time in Fate history where two people have a philosophical debate with each other, and then one of their philosophies actually wins out, instead of the other person just nodding at the end and going, I agree with you fully, but I'm gonna do the other thing anyway. And what's more is that these philosophical debates are mirroring their fight scene that is happening at the same time. So it's not just two people standing there talking and then one gets knocked away and then goes on a fucking monologue. They have it in mid-combat, which parallels the motivational philosophical discussion they're currently having. And then the winner of the discussion ends up winning the fight, again, perfectly paralleling their philosophical debate. It's like writing 101, and this is literally the only piece of Fate media that I have ever seen actually do this. Just by that grounds alone, it manages to elevate it under so much other stuff I've seen. But not only that, it manages to make characters who appear only for brief amounts of minutes go out like complete fucking badasses. And it does become nonsensical at points, like when the fucking pyramid of Ozymandias lifts up and starts shooting fucking lasers. I'm like, this is goddamn ridiculous. But Fate has always been ridiculous in its heart, and no piece of Fate media since the original Fate Stay Night anime has made me feel like this movie made me feel. This is an absolutely fantastic watch. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic, your Envoy of Hope. Bye-bye.